There is a bio concentration and biomagnification across the food chain. If you see human and if you see algae, there is thousands of concentration, higher concentration at the top of the trophic level than the bottom of the trophic level. So to identify and quantify pesticide use in food items and other ecosystem components and know the implication, regular laboratory-based assessments or testing is very important. So the study was conducted to identify and quantify the pesticide residues in sampled cabbage and fish from Fogara district. When you come to the material centimeters, as I have said, the study is conducted in Fogara district, which is an important seasonal wetland, an important rice producing area and fish breeding sites. When it comes to the methods regarding to cabbage, samples of cabbage were collected using availability and purposive sampling technique. The cabbage samples were purposely collected from April to May 2023. It is the peak season of cabbage production, as well as the nature of cabbage is unfolding when it grows. So if a pesticide is sprayed over it, it has a capacity to restore or to preserve it for a longer period of time. 22 samples were collected from market centers and transported to the laboratory of Bahar Dar University. It is the samples. Fish is also collected from 2 fish ponds. One is in the flooded area and the other is outside the flooded area. It is to compare whether there is a significant difference between the flooded area and a pond outside the flooded area. Larger sized fishes, especially fish tilapia, were collected. As pesticide use are dependent on the exposure time, the toxicity of the fish. The larger have a possibility to be contaminated more than the juvenile ones. There are different chemicals and instruments used to undertake the study. When it comes to the sample preparation and analytic extraction, the samples are extracted using the modified culture method. These are the procedures. This is the method used to validate. This is the calculation to know the concentration of the pesticide residues. These are the validation results. When we come to the findings of the study, about 81% of the pesticide residues found in cabbage and fish are organochlorine and organophosphate pesticides. To estimate the health risks of pesticide use in cabbage, the estimated daily intakes. The estimated daily intake of each pesticide was compared with the acceptable daily intakes and the maximum residual limit as determined by the European Food Safety Authority and WHO. In the case of cabbage samples, 92.8 or nearly 96% of the pesticides in cabbage samples exceeded the maximum residual limit determined. 27 of the 28 pesticides used in cabbage samples exceeded the toxicity quotient. The toxicity quotient is the maximum concentration over the acceptable concentration. The hazard quotient of 6 of the pesticides used in cabbage exceeded the acceptable daily intake. The pesticides are here: diazinon, disulfatone, indirene, and daldrin. These are the pesticides detected with a concentration higher than the daily intake. Total hazard index or the hazard index of all the pesticides in cabbage is 22.32. But the standard is 1. If the quotient is greater than 1, there is a risk. And if the concentration is less than 1, there is no health risk. So the amount is much further than that of the standard. Highly toxic pesticides are sprayed and supplied to consumers without waiting the time interval. Pesticide cabbage is supplied to consumers after spray within a 24 hours after spraying. The cumulative hazard index of pesticides could have synergetic studies confirm that there might be a synergetic effect than a summative effect. In this study, cabbage supply to consumers were 100% contaminated with pesticides. But the studies in other countries are lower than this concentration. The estimated daily intakes, acceptable daily intakes, and other findings are tabulated here. I don't want to go detail. In fish, hazard quotient of 6 pesticides in fish are higher than that of the acceptable daily intake. The total hazard quotient or the hazard index is 43.07, which is much higher than the acceptable daily index. But I didn't got the maximum residual limit for fish. There is no, I didn't get the maximum residual limit for fish. All fish samples from ponds were contaminated with organochlorine pesticides, which are pesticide. All fish samples, but previous studies from Lake Tana showed that only 37.8% of the fish were contaminated with pesticide residues. Fish in fish samples of this study were much more than the pesticide residues reported in Lake Tana. So, fish or ponds food exposed consumer more than fish harvested from larger water bodies because there is a buffering capacity. If the water is larger, it has a capacity to buffer the pesticides. If the water body becomes smaller, the concentration increases. It has also implication on the food security. Farmers are not able to or have not able to cultivate fish in the ponds of Fogara district, even though there is a trial. They are not effective in doing so. Pesticide residues pose ecological and human health risks and lower the nutritional value, even they have the capacity to reduce the value. Experts of the district confirmed that there was intoxication of fish in rivers and ponds to kill all the fish and harvest the larger ones and supply to consumers. There is also mass kill of fish due to spraying in a windy time. If farmers spray the pesticides around the pond in a windy season or in a windy time, it has the capacity to eliminate the fish in the pond. The studies confirm the frequency of cultivation and rate of pesticide application have direct correlation. If it increases, the tilapia is much higher than that of other species, and this Nile tilapia is the commonest food, the preferred fish species in the study area, including Bahar Dar. This is the results of the analysis. Estimated daily index, acceptable daily index, the risk quotient. When it comes to the implication, DDT, endosulfan, and hexachlorohexanes are detected in the study area. Even some of them are banned years ago, but if you check, I have also worked on pesticide use in sediment and soil. There is active application or active use of DDT in the study area. So such pesticides are detected above the maximum residual limit in cabbage samples. Pesticides reduce the hatching rates of fish and other aquatic organisms, alter the thyroid hormone levels, inhibit growth rates, reduce or induce familiarization, and reduce the avoidance of organisms from their predators. Persistent growth rate, exposure time, and toxicity are important factors in pesticide effects or in rating the effects of pesticides. All crops, including vegetables and seeds, have been sprayed with toxic pesticides, including the semi-mature. የተወሰነ ለማለት በአማርኛ ብናገር ደስ ይለኛል። ምንድነው ከበቆሎ ከምንጠቀመው በቆሎ ጀምሮ ፔስቲሳይድ ይረጫል። አሁን በቆሎ በምንወስድበት ጊዜ ልጫው ስላለ በጎን ብንረጫው አንጠቀምበትም እና ምንረጫው ምንድነው በኬሚካል እንረጭና በሃይላንድ ያስገቡት በሆነ ሚስማር ነገር ወይ በሽም ነገር ይመስላል ባናት ነው የሚያጠበጥቡበት። ሽምብራ እሸት እንጠቀማለን። ሽምብራው እሸቱ ይረጫል፣ ያንንም አምስተን እኛ እንጠቀምበታለን ማለት ነው። ላሞቻቸው በቁረኑ ይበከላሉ። እንደ ሐኪም ቤቱ ይዘዋቸው ይሄዳሉ። የሚያጠቡ የሚታለብ ከሆነ ግን ያናልባ ለከተማ ሰፕላይ ያደርጉታል ማለት ነው። እና ቅድም ከግብርና ማነው ከእንስሳት ቢሮ ጥራቱን የጠበቀና በቂ የእንስሳት ተዋጽኦ የሚለው ፓቶጀኒክ የሆኑትን ብቻ ሳይሆን እነዚህንም ኮንሲደር ማድረግ በጣም ጠቃሚ ነው። ከዛም የበለጠ ችግር የሚያመጣ ስለሆነ ማለት ነው። እና አንዳንድ ደግሞ እነሱ የሚጠቀሙትን ለብቻ ያደረጉና ለገበያ የሚያወጡትን ስቶሪድ ዊዝ ቶክሲክ ለዘራ መድኃኒት የሚባሉትን በነዛ ይጠቀማሉ። እና አንደኛው በዘራ መድኃኒት ያስቀመጠውን ረስቶ ልጆቹን መገባቸው። ሶስቱ ልጆቹ በአንድ ጊዜ ነው የሞቱበትና ያንን ግን ወደኛ ይመጣል ማለት ነው። it is a stress problem and should give emphasis like other top deadly or communicable diseases. No responsible body at the district and sub-district level to control the supply chain and no